Let's move on to QB2, and again, I put these guys in my order, so it does not necessarily mean that both Dave and Thor agree with the order we're going in. We are going to the late bloomer, Jayden Daniels, who would not have been in consideration for this pick anytime before. I don't think probably 9 months ago, 8 months ago, more than that. But he was an absolute superstar in his final season at LSU. He possesses athleticism that is, I think, probably unrivaled in the class. And his deep ball success and accuracy is intoxicating. So how do you compare Daniels to Caleb Williams, Thor?
It's a different thing, right? Daniels brings two superpowers to the NFL. Number one, he's going to be one of the great scramblers that we've ever seen from day one, and he's a downfield assassin. So those are the two things, and then everything else builds off that. But that embeds a very high floor, and it starts with the ceiling as well. And then we'll see where the rest of the stuff goes. His game presents a math and a spacing problem for defensive coordinators because of the downfield thing. You have to keep two safeties back. You're playing with fire if you don't. I mean, you saw that last year, that the constitution of that offense, and we talk about this when we talk about the receiver class, the usage with Brian Thomas, it was so heavily downfield. And even with Malik Neighbors, he's this darty receiver, but a lot of his usage went downfield as well. It was because Daniels was so good down the field. So they had in the SEC, they had to keep two safeties back. The problem with that is Daniels is such a dominant scrambler. He's going to be a top 5 scrambler all time in the NFL. So you can't keep a spy on him. And then it's like, well, what do we do? Do we try to speed up his process? Like earlier in his career at Arizona State, the issue with him is he saw the field slowly. Like he had all the physical ability. It's why Herm Edwards and Antonio Pierce, are you listening? Very interested in Las Vegas, helped bring him into Arizona State. But you saw all the physical ability. He started as a true freshman. But when you watched him there, it was like you could see the gears turning in his head as a true freshman. And so the game going, it just devolved everything. It was like this chain reaction. And then all his physical skills would go down. But now he's seeing the field so much better. And so everything plays up with his game. And so when you blitz him now, he was the number 1 quarterback PFF charting last year against the blitz. So it's like, how do you defend the guy? It becomes really, really difficult. In the pocket, he's become really good reading the defense, the coverages. LSU did something to help him improve with this. They have this system. They put him in like a VR kind of a thing where he sees the defenses, the different coverages, could see the formations. He got so good at this the last couple of years, seeing the plays, pointing different guys out. They started running the thing at double speed, where he was pointing it out and correctly identifying the pre-snap stuff. And then during the play, identifying which receiver to go to. So it became like Neo. Before the game, he was playing it essentially in fast forward. He's a very, very good prospect. I know it's the elevated age, but people need to keep in mind, he started 5 years in college. He was recruited out of high school, started as a true freshman for an NFL head coach, Herm Edwards. And then the other guy that brought him in is a current NFL head coach in Antonio Pierce. And then the guy that brought him into LSU, Brian Kelly, is one of the better college coaches that we have. So there's contextual things to keep in mind there. The 2021 season was the one really down season that he had in college. But that Arizona State team was a garbage fire for reasons that were outside of Jayden Daniels. They were in a scandal and different stuff like that. And it was coming out of COVID. Ricky Pearsall transferred out of that team and a whole gamut of other people. There's contextual things to keep in mind. But I really like Jayden Daniels as a prospect.
Dave, I think it's easy to make this comparison and maybe even a little bit lazy, but does he have the same upside as Lamar Jackson?
As a thrower, he's better. As a runner, he's worse. And as a thrower, I think he's got better accuracy than Lamar. There's always been times year after year where Lamar is just a little bit off. It's not a consistent thing, but I think that just as a thrower, certainly coming out, I think that Daniels is better there. As a runner, Lamar is faster, so he's going to make defenses really, really pay. But I think Daniels is fast enough. I obviously expect him to run quite a bit and think that he should be used as a dual threat that's in some sort of version of the air raid offense. But if he ends up going to a team that runs West Coast, I think he'll be able to be successful there too because of his accuracy. Not only was he amazing on those short throws, but he had the best accuracy, I think, in the whole FBS when it came to deeper throws. And it's not because he's got Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas camping under helium balloons. He's putting the ball in tight spaces for these guys to get it. There are multiple throws to Neighbors down the sideline where Neighbors has a defender on his hip, and the ball, he could have handed him the ball. That's how good the placement was. So Jayden Daniels, great thrower. He's improved. You can see the footwork improvement from Arizona State to LSU as well. And he knows where to go with the football pre and post snap. Really, it's a great deal for coaching staffs. The only thing they have to worry about is whether or not he can handle the physicality of the NFL. He's definitely lean, but he's tall. He's not that much leaner than CJ Stroud. Stroud handled it fine. Bryce Young is tiny. He handled it mostly fine.
Okay, so Thor, we had a comment, and I think a lot of people think this about Jayden Daniels. One downside, the dude gets rocked. And I will say, like, watching Josh Allen play football, if I was a Bills fan, I would be so terrified and a little bit frustrated that he just continues to take those types of hits almost and deliver those types of hits that he does as a scrambling quarterback. He is not avoiding contact. Well, Jayden Daniels is not built like Josh Allen, but he runs like he runs to contact like he thinks he is.
He thinks he's Derrick Henry. It's crazy.
It's kind of hard for me to believe after playing 5 years of high-level college football that people weren't telling him to stop doing that. Do you think we just have to live with that injury risk? And then also, like, it's not the only downside, right?
Well, yeah, he runs like the Roadrunner, right? Like it's like he's totally averse to the risk of injury, and it's kind of crazy that it hasn't happened yet, because you saw him get into car crashes. The difference between him and Lamar Jackson as scramblers is Lamar has better discretion for sure, but Lamar also has the better agility, right? Daniels is more the north-south guy, but that also sets Daniels up for these crazy collisions where the guy's coming downhill and then Daniels is shooting upfield and he'll just get blasted. Sometimes you saw him just get nailed backwards. It's like 5 yards. It was, like a cartoonish type collision. Yes, that is absolutely something he needs to learn. Is like, the dude is descending down. Like, you need to put up the white flag right now and slide. And there's a couple other things he needs to keep getting better at. People bring up the pressure to sack rate is the popular one with Daniels. This process, the popular one with everyone. I'd never heard pressure to sack rate so much than this process. It's a little different with Daniels than a couple of the other dudes. There's some context that as far as his one goes. Dave was bringing this up, and I really liked his point with it about how quiet Daniels' feet have gotten in the pocket with LSU. I totally agree with that. And he goes across the progression. The nuance with him, with how it's become at LSU is that's the case, and he goes through the progressions. But like when he decides to, so it's like, I'm a thrower. But when it's not, and he's waiting, and he can wait as long as possible because he knows he has that other superpower. So when he pulls it down to run, he can wait till the last possible second. But when he yanks it, when he tucks it down, he's running every single time. So rarely when he moves off the spot and he pulls it down, he's not moving to then throw it. Right, like JJ McCarthy and Caleb Williams, when they're moving around, it's because they're going to a different spot buying time so that they can throw it. When Daniels pulls that thing down, it's because he is running. That is another thing he needs to work on, because in scouting reports around the NFL, they will have in there for their defenders. They will tell them in the pregame meeting and during the week, when you to the defensive backs, when you see Daniels pull that thing down, peel off your man and come downhill and attack that kid, because he is not going to throw it. That is going to have a deleterious effect on his scrambling as well, because then they're just going to know that as well. So that would be one other thing. But the one point, just really quickly, that I want to make about the pressure to sack thing is this goes in conjunction with that, which is his sacks had shorter yardage than the other quarterbacks, because typically what you saw is it was like he has pretty good awareness of this. And typically what you saw is it would be the tuck thing, and then he'd start to run. And then he would get basically taken down as he was starting into that process. But he needs to modulate the basically that calculator in his head of, the time when to hold and fold, basically, to use a Kenny Rogers.
We'll finish up. And I think it's funny that he spent so much time in the VR machine, because I have heard several people say that he kind of plays quarterback like he's playing Madden. We're just going to drop back, see if the deal's open. If it's not, we're going to hit the turbo button. We're taking off. Dave, we'll start with you. Thor, you can follow up. So where does Daniels rank for you in this class amongst the quarterbacks? And then just a random guy that I don't know why I chose him. Would you rather have Jayden Daniels or Anthony Richardson?
I think I'd rather have Daniels than Richardson.
Okay.
And he's right behind Caleb Williams.
Oh, clear 102. Okay. What about you, Thor?
I compare Daniels to a blast from the past, Randall Cunningham.
Yeah,
okay.
Me too. That's amazing.
Yeah. Great minds. And I also have Daniels as QB2 in this class.